Welcome to this session dedicated to the institutional management of an IHL legal clinic. My name is Laura di Gianfrancesco. I'm a postdoctoral researcher in international law at Roma University, and I collaborate with the activities of the Roma IHL Legal Clinic. In the previous video lecture, you have learned what an IHL legal clinic is and how to set up one in your university. In this video lecture, I will provide you with an overview of how to manage an already set up legal clinic. You will learn, first, how to incorporate a legal clinic into a university academic program. Second, how to ensure quality standards in the management of an IHL legal clinic. Third, how to encourage students' participation. And finally, how to disseminate clinical activities and project results. As you have already learned, setting up and managing an IHL legal clinic is not an easy task. It normally requires undergoing several bureaucratic procedures with the university administration. However, directors should be able to navigate these challenges in order to build a successful and long-lasting legal clinic. To this end, it is important that an IHL legal clinic is a formally recognized course, normally an elective course, within the university institution curriculum. IHL legal clinics could also represent a specific branch under broader umbrella legal clinics aimed at fostering cooperation and exchange of expertise between academic colleagues involved in similar areas, such as human rights law, refugee or migration law, or public international law more generally. IHL legal clinics could be offered either in undergraduate or graduate programs, such as master's degree programs or LLMs. In any case, it is recommended that participation to the clinic is only open to students enrolled in the relevant university program. While the special characteristics and area of law of IHL legal clinics entail that these clinics may find it useful to allow ad hoc access to external participants, for instance, staff of NGOs, members of the armed forces, or humanitarian professionals, still, the involvement of non-students should not jeopardize the characteristics of the clinical legal education methodology and its focus on students' education. Specific attention should be paid to guaranteeing fruitful cooperation with university students. Developing the IHL legal clinic as a formally recognized course also entails that participating students should receive ECTS for their participation. The number of ECTS should be appropriate to the clinical workload and be awarded only upon successful completion of the course to ensure students' continuous engagement with clinical activities. Finally, subject to the availability of funds, universities are encouraged to offer scholarships for students' participation to clinical activities. When scholarships are only available for a limited number of participants, their attribution should be based on a public, transparent, open, and non-discriminatory competitive selection process. Managing a successful IHL legal clinic also requires directors to ensure that the clinic follows appropriate standards of quality. The relative novelty represented by the phenomenon of clinical legal education in Europe entails that there is no single set of guidelines aimed at ensuring the quality of education and services offered by European legal clinics. As a result, individual universities, law departments, and legal clinics may consider developing their own set of guidelines and good practices. See, for instance, the guidelines and regulations for legal clinics adopted by the Department of Law at Roma University. Also, in July 2022, the European Network for Clinical Legal Education adopted its quality standards for legal clinics to support the development of clinical education within Europe. In the alternative, clinic directors may benefit from the tools developed by the IHL Red Consortium in this area. Indeed, building on existing good practices, the IHL Red Consortium too has developed a dedicated instrument tailored on the specific characteristics of IHL legal clinics to ensure high-quality standards for clinical education in IHL. These are the guidelines for the management of IHL legal clinics in Europe, which you can find available on the IHL Red website. The purpose of the guidelines is to identify both quality standards and best practices for the management of IHL legal clinics. And although this instrument was developed for IHL clinics based in Europe, this could also be used as a starting point of reference for other IHL clinics worldwide. The guidelines are also not intended to preclude the development of further best practices, nor should they inhibit innovative approaches to clinical legal education. In the document, you will be able to find specific guidance concerning the institutional design and management of an IHL legal clinic, as well as indications on how to achieve the educational purposes of an IHL legal clinic and how to ensure the quality of the services provided to external partners. Managing a successful IHL legal clinic requires first and foremost the ability to attract students. After all, students remain the pulsing heart of clinical legal education. Students' participation is primarily encouraged by a well-structured design of the clinical course, the awarding of adequate ECTS, and possibly scholarships for participation. However, to attract students, directors should be able to explain to prospective students which are the benefits deriving from participation to an IHL legal clinic. In this regard, we believe that nothing can be more convincing than the voices of students themselves. We have asked some of our former clinical students from the universities of Leiden, Bochum, and Roma 3 about their experience with the respective legal clinics and what they believe is the added value of having participated in an IHL legal clinic for their university and post-university path. Let's hear their responses.
What do you think is the added value of having participated in that to your university career?
Yeah, so before participating to the IHL legal clinic, I felt like I didn't have many soft skills, let's say, that I could use in a future career. So I really felt the need to work on that. And actually being part of this legal clinic was very useful in that sense, because I had the opportunity, first of all, to learn how to work in groups, so work with other people, how to also overcome challenges and difficulties that of course happen when you work with other people that have different backgrounds, different attitude towards the work. But at the same time, I also gained practical competences that I hopefully will use in the future. For example, learning how to do research, so academic research, learning how to go through the different documents that you can find, of course, online, which are so many. Learn how to write academic papers, which I didn't know how to do before. So, for example, footnotes and all those kind of things. And finally, also with this conference that we attended, I concluded the project also starting to learn how to present something that you worked on for a long time to other people in a way that could be interesting, of course.
I think even when I took up the clinic as a research position, I already had a lot of interest in IHL as a field. We also had Dr. Heinz as a professor earlier in the semester. Mm-hmm. But I think through the clinic work, what's become most apparent to me is that I really like doing research work as well, which is not something I considered for myself as an option earlier. So I've always looked at either practicing law or working in a bigger organization in more than just a research capacity. But I really enjoyed having a research mandate, having specific questions to answer. So I think that helped it helped me understand what my career preferences are as well, because it opened up more doors for me. It helped me understand that I am interested in other positions that may involve more research-intensive duties, as well as, of course, the field itself. There's so much within IHL. You can have nuanced fields within IHL, like gender roles in IHL, gender justice in IHL, minorities, asylum within IHL. So there's so many different fields there's so much cross-disciplinary stuff you can do as well. And I think that's been a huge, it's been a huge learning for me. So it definitely has shaped my future career preferences as well, because I think it's broadened my understanding of what's possible within IHL and even what's possible for me as a career option, not just to restrict myself, but to actually be open to exploring these other opportunities as well.
An IHL legal clinic pursues two primary objectives: students' education and the offering of quality services to external partners and clients. Yet, by their very nature, IHL legal clinics also pursue a specific mission: to contribute as far as possible to the dissemination of IHL. To this end, managing a successful IHL legal clinic also requires directors to be actively involved with activities aimed at the broader dissemination of clinical projects and outputs. These activities may include conferences within and outside the university, legal clinics exchange programs, workshops, and other similar forms of dissemination. Dissemination activities shall be aimed at allowing both the specialized and the general public to familiarize with clinical legal education in IHL and with the clinical projects. These activities should not result in the dissemination of confidential information. For this reason, the clinic's supervisors shall review in advance students' material aimed at external dissemination. The legal clinics that form part of the IHL Red Consortium, for instance, meet once a year for a few days in the Clinics Exchange Conference, where students have the opportunity to present their project's results, get to know each other, and exchange views and good practices. This is also a chance for students to attend dedicated lectures on IHL issues and to visit relevant institutions. Here you can see, for instance, some pictures of our former students attending a hearing at the International Criminal Court during the 2023 Clinics Exchange Conference hosted by Leiden University. Whenever possible, publication of the clinic's project results in specialized journals, partners' websites, or the university website is encouraged, including through the use of social media. Such publication shall be agreed upon in advance with the cooperating partner and shall not result in the dissemination of confidential information. Publication of results shall acknowledge the role played by all involved students and supervisors in their development. In this video lecture, you have learned the basics of the institutional management of a successful IHL legal clinic. Specifically, you have learned, first, that IHL legal clinics should be properly incorporated into academic university programs. Second, that they should ensure quality standards, including by adopting specific sets of guidelines, such as the IHL Red Consortium Guidelines for the Management of IHL Legal Clinics in Europe. Third, that students' participation should be encouraged by highlighting the benefits of clinical legal education. And finally, that a successful IHL legal clinic should be able to disseminate its activities and results as part of its unique clinical mission. Thank you for joining me in this session. In the next module, you will be able to find out more about the dynamics of legal clinics' cooperation with external partners on IHL projects.